Welcome to the latest episode of Five on the Floor, the Five Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app on Apple Podcasts, on Android. We recommend Spotify. Also, check out the Five Reasons YouTube channel for content around the South Florida sports spectrum. Also, check out Off the Floor. That's our Discord server. That's $2.99 per month. Link is right here in the description. You'll bypass the Apple upcharge. Again, this is the place for the most heat information and conversation. We'll have stage shows coming back as we head towards the season. Also, we're doing some in-game content there. So check it out. We take the best from Twitter. We put it here. Again, it's Off the Floor. Use the link in the description. Also, PrizePicks. Use the code 5, FIVE. Put down your $5. You get $50 in lineups. You go to the Explore page. They'll be right there for you. Again, 5 turns into 50. The place for the place to play daily fantasy. Again, legal in the state of Florida. Flex plays, power plays, and more. Again, it's PrizePicks.com. And now, today's episode.
Uh-oh. Yeah. It's Mercy. Music by Mercy again. Heat Nation. We the culture. Yo, E, I need you to call timeout. Need Brady to set the floor plan. Tropical blanket. Open for the shot. Yo, Greg, set the pick. Still 5 on the floor, still ride for my dog. Still battle on the court, still survive in the war. Keep your eye on the ball, or get burned from the keep this mic off the wall without turning the cheek. From night to day, no sleepy cats or allowed to mourn us. The nut is sleeping us, never catch us snoring. Live from Miami, report in the heat with 5 Reasons Sports from the courts to the streets. Yeah, Wake County, Heat Nation, we say it proudly.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, Alex Toledo, Brady Hawk, and others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Also, make sure to subscribe to Off the Floor for the most heat anywhere.
All right, welcome back to 5 on the Floor. Here's today's floor plan. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick at 5 Reasons Sports. I got Greg Sylvander. You can follow him at Greg Sylvander. So ESPN has put out the first half or the second half of its rankings for this upcoming season. I always do specify that this is more of a projection than a past ranking. But, of course, the past does become relevant in terms of what kind of players we're talking about here. And there are 3 Miami Heat players who made the list, between 51 and 100. The one who did not is Bam Adebayo, so we're assuming he'll be somewhere in the top 50. So
Better
3 Heat.
be.
Well, yeah, I would guess. What would you say? What do you think? Where do you think he ends up? I'm saying 32.
I was going to say 32, 31, something like that. He's better than that, but just based off of last season, that's probably where they're having him, which means actually because we have a built-in subconscious bias, he'll probably be around 37.
Could be. Either way, he's probably not going to be top 25, which again gets to the point that the Heat still don't have that guy, right? They have good players, but they don't have that franchise kind of leader superstar type that makes it into those categories. But also this list is not perfect. Let's be clear on that. And what we're going to get to here indicates that. So there are 3 Heat players that made the list. The first one is Tyler Herro at 68, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah.
Norm Powell at 82 and Andrew Wiggins at 89. Okay, so if you're to look, again, a lot of this is projection, but if you're to look at grouping players into sort of 30-player tiers, because there are 30 teams in the league, according to ESPN, with Bam likely falling into that second tier of 30, right? We think he's going to be somewhere between 31 and 49, obviously, or 50, 31 and 50, because he's not on the 51 plus list.
Don't get me started.
I know, but ESPN thinks that ESPN is likely going to say that the Heat have a number 2, because Bam would fall into that category somewhere between 31. Okay. So they have Tyler here at 68, which means that they view him as a number 3. A high-end number 3. Norm Powell at 82, which means they have him kind of also as a number 3, and Andrew Wiggins at 89, I guess.
Yeah, he's at 89.
So they view him as a low end number 3. So I guess if you're to characterize it that way, the Heat have a number 2 and 3 number 3s. Is
Yeah.
that about right? Okay.
No,
All right.
it's interesting that you position it that way because that is kind of if we're going to do this in tiers
Yeah.
for lack of a better way of approaching it, they all are falling in that same tier. I do want to challenge eventually Heroes ranking, but I'll let you finish up your thought.
Okay. Well, no, do it. Challenge Heroes ranking. Let's start there because he's at 68. And again, was this done? I'm sure the rankings were complete before his injury was
That's
disclosed.
the difficult thing. So first off, I don't know who wrote this, but when they say ESPN's top 100, I'm guessing that they have multiple people
Yeah.
contributing to this. That's just my guess. If I'm wrong
Yes.
about that, I apologize. And if they're taking into account this injury, I guess I can see some of the logic in certain situations. But
Except that they don't mention the injury in the rank. So I don't think that they did. And Brian Windhorst wrote the blurb here, but it's not just Windhorst voting. Kevin Pelton votes.
got it.
I can
So
see
it's, so it's a panel
there's
of people.
yeah, there's lots of names here. So there's a panel. And last year Tyler was 76. So I'm going to let you challenge it. Let me just give you what Brian wrote. Now that again, Brian's not the only one that ranked this, but they basically delegated the blurb to him. Last season, Hero bounced back. He was 76 last year, 68 going into this year. Last year, Hero bounced back from injury to have his most efficient and best playmaking season, and it was a bright light on a Heat team that endured Jimmy Butler's daily turbulence and Bam Adebayo's overall down season. He'll have to overcome similar hurdles in 25-26. Oh, they did include it. I'm sorry. After undergoing surgery this offseason that will keep him sidelined at the start. So maybe we're not sure. There are times when his offense first and shot-heavy play can feel like empty calories, especially when the Heat had their worst season in a decade.
Damn.
Yeah.
So they're taking into account the injury, but I still want to challenge. Like, honestly, and I'm just going to rattle off some of these names that are ahead of him. Bam
Right.
Johnson, Aaron Neesmith, Lou Dort, Christian Braun, Austin Reeves, Jalen Suggs. I don't care what you want to say. Those guys haven't been on all-star teams. They're not
No.
perennial all-stars. I understand where all of them contribute to winning in ways that are probably making them positioned ahead of Tyler because we've talked about the archetype that Tyler is and how that's valued and looked upon around the league. But Tyler here is a better basketball player than a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like for Tyler to even be in this tier, Ethan, you know how much more skilled he has to be than the rest of these guys with what he's working with athletically. So I just think it's ridiculous that like Christian Braun would be ranked ahead of him to me.
Well, I think it's ridiculous because none of them have as much on their plate as he does. And it felt to me like this list was a little too cool for school. They're doing a lot of projecting, but they're also, and I'm not saying defense doesn't matter. Of course it does. Okay. And like two-way players like Jaden McDaniels who are ranked high, I get it because it's a big contributor to a contending team and he does it on both ends. But there is something to be said for a player who has to make plays for his team to score any points at all. And that's pretty much where Tyler was last season. The hope was he was not going to be in that position this season because of Norm Powell's addition. By the way, I have a bigger problem with where Norm Powell's ranked, but we'll get to that one next. But 68 is too low. And I don't know if it's possible that the rankings were done before the injury, but Windhorst did the blurb after the injury. I don't know. There's no way that I guess I could text Brian, but
how does he come
really
off his best season of his career and he's still ranked with some of these guys ahead of him and he only moves up 6 spots from last year? I just that doesn't compute to me.
Well, and then the other thing I would take a little exception with Brian's comment here because he says there can be times where his offense first and shot heavy play can feel like empty calories. Okay, the offense first part I get, but the shot heavy, if he was an inefficient chucker, then yes, I would understand. But his shot totals,
he's recreated his shot diet multiple times to try to fit certain molds.
And his effective field goal percentage is relatively high for his position. So this is not Jordan Poole. And I kind of feel like Brian made him into Jordan Poole, and
A little
Brian,
bit.
right? Brian tends to be one of, they're better folks. So that's basically the situation. I don't think this is fair. I'm not saying Tyler should have been top 30, but the man was an all-star last year. Like, so okay, so it was through the East, but it's even so, and
The
I'm going to
West
get to this
isn't
somehow.
that deep.
Right. Like Tyler wasn't I mean, he was one of the top 50 players in the league last year. And
Isaiah
so
Hartenstein's ahead of him. Like, and I
right.
understand all the intangibles that he brings, and he's the perfect fit in OKC. He's
Yes.
exactly what they needed. Dyson Daniels is a menace on defense, unbelievable with the steals.
Mhm.
So I understand those guys' impact. Alex Caruso, I get it as well with the defense and the what wins and being part of a championship group. They all should get a bump, but all of those guys better than Tyler.
Nah, I don't. I think it's unfair, honestly. And I'm not going to claim heat bias here, like we used to do. Brian's not one that has a anti-heat bias for sure. But with the next player, I might actually. We'll talk about that after the break. Real Estate Shop. You can find him at realestateshopfl.com. Our guy Javier was on the pod today. I want to throw this at you, Greg, on the other side of this, because Javier and I debated this. But I'll tell you about Real Estate Shop first. Realestateshopfl.com. That's 2 P's and an E. FL.com. The Fort Lauderdale Realtor. That's where you can find them on Instagram. All throughout Broward County, from the east to the west. They handle everything, help you buy or sell. It's a challenging time right now with everything, interest rates, everything else that you're dealing with. Work with an experienced team. They're a duo. It's Javier and his wife, Amanda, and they'll handle everything for you from start to finish. So check them out. Trusted people, realestateshopfl.com or the Fort Lauderdale Realtor. Okay, so the Herro one I don't agree with. He should be, unless they dropped him 30 spots because he got hurt. But there's other guys on this list who are coming back from injuries or are going to miss time, and I just, again, don't think that they took into account everything that he had to handle last season and the efficiency with which he did it, at least until they got to the playoffs. The Norm Powell one to me is even worse, though. They have him at 82. Okay,
Right ahead of Kuminga.
right, a player who Golden State doesn't seem to want right now. Okay, Norm Powell was almost an all-star last year. He was considered one of the biggest snubs in the league in the West, which means that he was at the all-star at the time the voting was going on, was considered to be one of the top sort of 12 to 15 players in the Western Conference. He's 82. Would he still be 82 if he was with the Clippers? Because I'm looking at some of the guys that are ahead of him. I mean, you're talking about 21 points a game, and I know he did not have a great defensive season, but 21 points a game on efficient shooting. And I just want to go through again. I know they're doing a projection, and he's 32 years old, but I'm looking at some of the players that are ahead of him. All right. Andrew Nembhard at 81 was really good in the postseason. He shot 47% from 3 in the postseason, and he's going to get a bump in production. There's no question about that because Halliburton's out. But based off of last year and looking forward, I'm not exactly sure he should be ahead of him. DeRozan, they have at 80. He dropped from 45. I mean, everybody has their opinions on DeMar and whether he contributes to winning at this stage. I'm not going to argue with DeMar DeRozan being ahead of Norm Powell based on resume. They have a Kongwu ahead of him. Again, that's a projection because he's stepped into that starting spot with Atlanta. Tumani Kamara with Portland. Very, very good defender. Projection. Total projection, though, okay? Brandon Ingram probably should be higher. He was ranked 40th last year. He's at 77 this time. You know, he had a disappointing year because of injuries. He's in a new spot in Toronto. He got most of the money that he wanted. We'll see. Brandon Miller, 76. I understand the projection there. He was 68 last year because of how talented he is, but he was hurt most of last season. Then I mentioned Jaden McDaniels. They have him at 75. Jabari Smith at 74. I mean, has he done? I understand he was a top 5 pick, but has he done enough necessarily? Again, projection. Derek Lively, the second. He's played only 91 games in the past 2 seasons, so you're projecting him to be healthy. Zach LaVine at 72. Kobe White at 71. And this is the one that gets me. Michael Porter Jr. at 70. And by the way, he was the player he was traded for, Cam Johnson at 67. I love the Cam Johnson acquisition for Denver in part because he's not Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
Like, does Michael Porter Jr. should he be 12 spots ahead of Norm Powell considering what they both did last year? Like, it seems like Denver couldn't wait to get rid of him.
There's no way. And also I think you're getting some defensive specialists that I think Norm is just more talented than these guys. And so I think that there's probably context related to this list that won't ever be released necessarily. And if they're going to give all these players that have the things that don't show up in the box score, and they're going to lean defense and what impacts winning, Ethan, then Bam Adebayo better be pretty damn high on the next edition of this damn thing.
Well, you're right. And I think you make a good point. They really do lean into defense here. By the way, they have Miles Turner at 57. And did Miles Turner get a rebound in the finals? Because I can't remember it. I'm not saying he wasn't helpful to Indiana, but projecting him at 57, they jumped him 24 spots? Okay.
It's not going to go well in Milwaukee. I'll just predict that up front.
I don't think it is, but you're right about the defensive specialist thing because Jalen Suggs they have at 59. By the way, it was announced today. They don't know if he's going to start the season on time. He's still coming back from an injury in March. I like Jalen Suggs, but he has struggled offensively a little in the pros. So that's a defensive projection. I understand.
Dort at 64.
Another defensive guy. You mentioned Christian Braun at 62. I can't understand how Christian Braun is 20 spots ahead of Norm Powell. I like Christian Braun. He's very good in transition. He's a good complement to Jokic. It looks like
maybe they just watched him against the Heat. Only his Heat highlights.
Perhaps. Okay, he's great on cuts. He does some really good things. But the ball's never been put in his hands the way it was put in Powell's hands last year and the way it was put in Herro's hands last year. And both of them did what they did on remarkable efficiency. And I'm just curious, if you gave Christian Braun that same shot diet without Jokic down there and he had to handle everything, would he look better than both of those guys? I just don't see it. I'm not going to argue with LaMelo because I actually thought LaMelo was properly ranked this time around, that they didn't put him in the top 50. They have him at 63.
Shouldn't be ahead of Tyler.
No.
But
I'm with you on that. And Josh Hart at 69. I appreciate a lot of the things Josh Hart does.
For sure.
He's a
ultimate role player. If he was on the Heat fans would love him.
Right.
Like, that's just how.
Would you rather have? Let me ask you this: would you rather have Josh Hart on the Heat right now or Norm Powell? What would have made a bigger impact for what the Heat needed this offseason?
They need Norm. They need a shot in the arm offensively in the worst way.
Right. Even though Josh Hart is the player that you would figure based on their history that they would go for.
Most.
And,
yeah,
right.
18 months ago, my answer would have been totally different, thinking about the different team and what you're building toward, etc. And they actually tried to get Josh Hart. We shouldn't forget that.
No, they have many times. And they have Kobe White at 71, and I'm kind of torn on this because I think the Bulls actually got better when they got rid of Levine and put Kobe White in there. But Kobe White also statistically did not necessarily have a better season than Norm Powell. They have him 11 spots higher. He's younger. I understand. I wonder if Norm Powell was coming back to the Clippers on an extension.
Mm-hmm.
If he would be ranked in the top 65 or 60 instead of 82. All right, let's get to the last one here. And this is a tough one. Andrew Wiggins at 89. Now, based on the way he played in the postseason last year, I wouldn't have Andrew Wiggins on the list at all. But to have him a spot behind Zach Edey.
Yeah, that's I'm glad you said it. Come on, what are we doing?
And 2 spots behind Jonas Valanciunas. I mean,
now we've completely undervalued Wiggins, and he's going to come out this year, and people are going to act like, oh, we always thought he was this guy, even if he's just his regular self. He doesn't need to be some, semi-star, all-star level player. That's not what I'm getting at. But I think that now we've swung in the complete opposite direction on Wiggs, and he's a lot better than maybe they're giving him credit for. And this just it looks like a lot of projection, because even if you look at his stats, the raw stats, if he just does that again, some of these guys on this list shouldn't necessarily be ahead of him.
And I know that there are some on here that say they should be like RJ Barrett. They have at 100, and there are some people who would take RJ Barrett over Andrew Wiggins right now. Although Toronto seems to be trying to move him again. Stephon Castle at 99. I actually think was a low projection. I mean, he's rookie of the year. Like if you're going to project forward, some of the guys that they have above him, I just don't see it. I mean, they have Bradley Beal at 86. I don't know. What do we think of that? Bradley Beal, 3
I
spots
mean,
ahead of
that's who they
Wiggins.
replaced. So that they essentially are saying Beal, who replaced Norm Powell, is in the same realm, 4 spots below. I think they've got Beal too high, actually. How about
Yeah,
that?
I think they do too. If you're going to do the contributing
Or
to win,
Norm too low is maybe more what it is.
I think it's more Norm too low. I mean, I'm scrolling through here because I'm trying to see. I mean, they have Denny from I can never pronounce Avdija from from the Blazers at 66. I mean, obviously he was a good pickup for them last year. It's got to contribute to more winning, but they were better than anybody expected. They have Zion at 61, which the way that Zion looks right now, if he can actually stay healthy, I mean, he got himself in shape. He slipped from 27 to 61. I would project him to have a better year this year than last year, even though I think the Pelicans are going to be terrible.
I agree.
Um,
Also, Stephon Castle is 99 on this
yeah,
list. I would
that's
project him higher.
yeah. I think he should be higher. And they have Dyson Daniels at 55, and I get it because he had a great defensive season. But again, he's not asked to carry any kind of burden offensively. These are the two. Alex Caruso as sort of an ultimate role player and now a champion, but at 53, I would take him
Yeah,
on your
it's
team,
too much though. They're doing too much. Like,
right? Like
we don't have to
they're
act like we're smarter than everyone else, and that's why we're ranking them that high. Like, just stop it. Like, we
right.
understand there are a lot of guys that if they get put in that specific role in OKC could flourish. I'm not saying Caruso should be undervalued. He would be awesome anywhere. He would be awesome for the Heat, but come on now.
Last season, can I just read? I'll just read the blurb on him. Caruso's statistics. This Ramona Shelburne wrote this one. Caruso's statistics never look all that impressive. Last season, he averaged 7.1 points, 2.9 rebounds, and 1.6 steals in just 19 minutes. But his impact on the Thunder during their championship run was undeniable, from leadership and clutch and basketball IQ to defensive intensity and clutch three-point shot making during the playoffs. Caruso far exceeded expectations as the veteran leader on the NBA's youngest team. Well, he didn't far exceed expectations. They traded Josh Giddey for him, so they obviously had high expectations for him. And again, he's a very good player. Any contending team would love to have him. With that said, it's a little too cute. It's way too cute. I just
If
right.
this was after 2013, they would have Norris Cole high on this list because he was the reserve guard of the champions.
No, they wouldn't because he was on the Heat. But your point is taken. And if you're going to make the other case, Paul George at 54, you are not okay. This is my closer on the Norm Powell thing. All right. Paul George left the Clippers for Philadelphia. The Clippers got better. Norm filled Paul George's role, and everybody talked about how things flowed better. Paul George had a horrible year. He was almost unplayable in Philadelphia. I know he was hurt and all that, but
did they get worse?
Yes.
I just love to laugh at Philadelphia. Sorry.
Well, and that's the whole thing here. I know Embiid was out, but how do you have Paul George at this stage, and it's a projection, ahead of Norm Powell by 28 spots, let alone ahead of Herro by 16 spots? This is why we let them make the list, and we just
that's East Coast bias right there.
I guess it must be. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to apply to here. Anyway, overall point is the Heat have some good players. They don't have a great player. We knew this. At least they got 4 on the list this time, I guess. The hope is that by next year, somebody else from the Heat pops on here. Khalil Ware, Niko Jovic. Somebody needs to step up, at least get into that bottom tier along with the rest of this group, so that the Heat have a chance to do something. All right, Greg, appreciate it. Thanks to our sponsors, Real Estate Shop, FL.com, PrizePicks. Use that code FIVE.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. After all, someone needs to listen to my dad.